All right, so today we're diving into
Oh, yeah.
a pretty heavy topic.
Yeah.
The murder of the UnitedHealthCare CEO,
Right. Brian Thompson.
Brian Thompson, and you guys have sent in a ton of articles on this case.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's a lot to unpack.
It goes way beyond your average true crime story.
Absolutely, and I think the fact that the alleged perpetrator was caught so quickly
Yep.
after a nationwide manhunt
Yeah.
makes it even more compelling.
And then you add in the crime scene details
Yeah.
and the suspect's background. I mean,
That's
it's
all.
like a movie.
It's wild.
So before we get into all the nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
let's set the stage.
Okay.
Brian Thompson, he was the CEO of UnitedHealthCare,
Right.
which, for those who might not know, is like the biggest
Huge.
health insurance company in the country.
Yeah, the nation's largest. It's important to establish that context, I think, because it really feeds into
Yes.
the public reaction
Huge.
that we've seen to this case.
Totally.
You know, this wasn't just a random act of violence.
Right. This was an attack on someone at the very top
Oh, yeah.
of a system that many people have very strong feelings about.
Some feelings is putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Thompson's found murdered outside this, like, fancy
Oh, yeah.
Hilton in Midtown Manhattan.
Right, in Midtown.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The police find bullet casings at the scene,
Right.
and they're etched with words deny, defend, and depose.
Wow. So like a message.
Almost like a message was being sent.
Yeah, it seems like it resonates with a particular phrase. You know, delay, deny, defend.
Yeah.
That's often how insurance companies are
Like you're
characterized.
dealing with claims, exactly.
So right off the bat, the crime scene is suggesting this motive
Oh, yeah,
tied to resentment
for sure.
towards the healthcare industry.
Like someone's trying to make a statement.
Yeah.
And then we have the suspect, Luigi Mangione,
Right, 26 years old.
26 years old, Ivy League education.
Yeah, seems like he has it all.
On paper, he seems to have it all.
Yeah.
But then he gets arrested at a McDonald's in rural Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Thanks to this, like, really sharp-eyed customer
Oh, wow.
who recognized him from the news.
That's a wild story.
Talk about a plot twist.
I know.
So what leads a guy like this to allegedly commit such a crime?
Well, they found some pretty incriminating items on him when he was arrested.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they found a ghost gun, which essentially means it's untraceable,
Uh-huh.
along with a silencer,
Okay.
a loaded magazine, and a bunch of fake IDs.
So clearly this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing.
No.
This seems planned.
This was planned.
So premeditation.
Yes.
But what about the motive? Was this personal? Was he targeting Thompson specifically?
Right.
Or was this an attack on UnitedHealthCare or even the entire healthcare system?
That's where things get even more complex.
Okay.
Because along with those items, they found a 3-page manifesto.
In his backpack.
In his backpack, yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, according to these articles,
Yeah.
this manifesto rails against corporate America,
Uh-huh.
talks about parasites getting what they deserve.
Whoa, hold on. So he's trying to position himself as some kind of vigilante?
It seems that way.
Like he's taking down a corrupt system?
Yeah, but it's a dangerous and disturbing line of thinking.
Totally.
And what's even more unsettling is that in this manifesto, Mangione includes a line apologizing for the strife and trauma he caused.
That's bizarre.
I know.
He's acknowledging the harm he's inflicted,
Right.
but he still seems to believe that what he did was justified.
Yeah.
It's wild. Did the manifesto offer any clues about why he might feel this way?
Well, there wasn't anything specific about Thompson himself in the manifesto, at least not from what I've seen from these articles you've sent me.
Yeah.
But there was this mention of a general feeling of being trapped by a system,
Yeah.
rigged against the average person.
That idea of feeling powerless, it makes me think about the Monopoly money
Oh, yeah, right?
that they found in his backpack. Right. Some of the articles you sent, they suggested it was a symbolic gesture,
I could see that.
highlighting the vast wealth disparity.
Right.
What do you think? Was he trying to make a statement about corporate greed?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of symbolic action
Yeah.
combined with the language in that manifesto
Yeah.
definitely points to a deep-seated resentment.
For sure.
But to understand the potential roots of that resentment,
Mm-hmm.
we need to look at Mangione's background.
Right.
You know, what we see on the surface. Ivy League education, seemingly privileged life,
Yeah.
might not be the whole story.
Right, because we also have that online post from October
Right.
where someone expresses concern for Mangione,
Yeah.
saying they hadn't heard from him in months.
Right, like he was withdrawing.
Almost like there were these signs that something was off.
Yeah, definitely suggests a growing isolation,
Uh-huh.
maybe even a disconnect from his personal network.
Right.
And that's often a red flag when we're talking about potential radicalization.
So he's shutting himself off from friends and family,
Yeah.
potentially stewing in these feelings of anger and frustration.
Right.
And then we add in his online activity,
Yeah.
specifically this Goodreads review
Oh, gosh.
that he wrote of the Unabomber's manifesto.
That's
I know.
a pretty significant detail.
Huge red flag.
In his review, he calls Ted Kaczynski an extreme political revolutionary.
Wow.
It's unsettling to see that level of apparent sympathy
Right.
for someone who used violence to achieve their aims.
It makes you wonder, was he studying Kaczynski?
Yeah.
Was he inspired by his actions?
Yeah, that's definitely a question investigators will be exploring.
Yeah.
And it kind of raises a bigger question, too.
What's that?
What online spaces might he have been frequenting
Yeah.
that could have further fueled his anger
Uh-huh.
and potentially pushed him towards violence?
It's a chilling thought.
It is, yeah.
So we've got this really complex picture emerging. A seemingly privileged young man
Yeah.
harboring this deep resentment toward corporate America,
Right.
isolating himself
Uh-huh.
and expressing sympathy for a known terrorist.
Yeah.
And then he allegedly commits this shocking act of violence.
Yeah, and the public's reaction to all of this,
I know.
well, that adds another layer of complexity
Oh,
that
yeah.
we really need to unpack. The public's response to this has been
Oh, my God.
incredibly divided.
It's been wild to see. You've got people condemning the violence,
Right.
which,
Of course.
you'd expect.
Yeah.
But then you have this whole other segment,
Uh-huh.
particularly online, who are practically praising Mangione.
Yeah, like this folk hero.
Calling him a hero, a folk hero,
Yeah.
even making memes and T-shirts with his face on them.
That's what's so fascinating about this case to me.
It's wild.
It's tapped into something
Oh, yeah.
much larger
For sure.
than just the crime itself.
Right.
This simmering frustration and anger toward corporate America.
Yeah.
And specifically the healthcare industry.
Totally. It's like people are so fed up
Yeah.
with a system
Oh, yeah.
they perceive as rigged against them
Yes.
that they're willing to overlook the violence,
Yeah.
even celebrate it in this like twisted way.
Precisely. And that's what's so concerning. You know,
Yeah.
it highlights this breakdown in trust,
Yeah.
the sense of hopelessness
For sure.
that can lead people to embrace extreme ideologies.
It reminds me of that article you sent about the threats
Oh, yeah.
other CEOs have been receiving since Mangione's arrest.
Right.
Anthrax, bomb threats.
It's scary.
It's like this case has emboldened other people to act out their anger in dangerous ways.
It's a chilling trend.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to the need to have a deeper conversation
Yeah.
about how we address these underlying societal issues.
Okay, so we've got this volatile public reaction, this
Right.
sense of anger bubbling over.
Yeah.
But let's step back for a second
Okay.
and look at the victim here,
Yeah.
Brian Thompson. Beyond being a CEO, he was a husband, a father.
A person.
What about the impact this has had on his family?
You know, it's easy to get caught up
Yeah.
in the political and social ramifications
Right.
of a case like this.
Yeah.
But we have to remember at its core,
Uh-huh.
this is a tragedy.
Right.
A man lost his life.
Yeah.
A family is grieving.
It's a reminder that actions have consequences.
Yeah,
Violence leaves a lasting impact on everyone involved.
it really does.
And speaking of consequences, what happens next for Luigi Mangione?
Yeah.
Legally speaking, he's facing some serious charges,
Yeah.
including murder.
Right. And with that manifesto out there,
Yeah.
it seems like the prosecution has a really strong case.
Right, but what about the defense?
Yeah.
What kind of strategy could they possibly use in a case like this?
Well, they might try to argue that Mangione was suffering from a mental illness,
Okay.
that his judgment was impaired.
Uh-huh.
They could point to his isolation,
Yeah.
his online activity,
Right.
the content of the manifesto itself
Yeah.
as evidence of a disturbed mental state.
But how do you prove that?
Yet.
And even if he was struggling mentally,
Right.
does that excuse murder?
It's a complex
It's
legal and ethical question,
totally.
and it's one that the jury is ultimately going to have to grapple with.
It's going to be a fascinating trial to follow, that's for sure.
I think so.
And the verdict will likely have implications.
Yeah.
Far beyond just this one case.
Absolutely. This case has the potential to set a precedent
Uh-huh.
for how we handle acts of violence,
Yeah,
motivated by anti-corporate sentiment.
for sure.
You know, it raises questions about free speech,
Right.
the definition of terrorism,
Yeah.
and the balance between individual rights and societal safety.
So as we dig